Alright, it is now time for raising funds for World Domination, day number 242. So, once again, there are no updates on any of the items on this list. So we will continue with where we were last night, working on the block mining simulation game. So I think this was still on the 17th. Excuse me. Okay, so I thought fix this. So we're still dealing with the trying to fix and consolidate some of the code for updating the frame when I'm drawing like text on the frame. I'm in the process of trying to figure out why the changes I made did not fix the bug. So as you can see, when the position goes, when the text is less wide, it's not at 0 coordinates. There's an extra 0 there because it's not updating. So what we can do for that? Right, we'll go into the older IntelliJ that works. Let's see. Yeah, I guess I'll have to run it. It doesn't really work when running it in IntelliJ. So we'll compile it locally because the local machine has a different binary interface, and I can't run the jar from the other machine. Orthoplex 64, how's it going? I'm at a normal number of likes tonight. Last night, for some reason, I got like 9 likes right away. Maybe they're bots. Oh, she got another like. Thank you. need a faster machine. Hope those likes are us regulars showing our support for our channel. Even if it's just to pop in for a bit. Oh, likes are us regulars? Yeah, well, tonight there's 3. Last night there was the metrics are weird. Like, just a few minutes in, I already had 9 likes and I had 2 concurrent viewers. And up there it said 2 concurrent, and down there it said 0. Yeah, it was kind of that was kind of an outlier. I haven't seen that, but I don't know. Who knows? Okay. So to debug this, we'll do set a breakpoint in that method to figure out why. Saw a couple active in the chat, yet it showed 1 viewer. I don't know, maybe it actually was 9 real likes. Like, maybe they showed it to a bunch of people, but the counting was wrong or something. Who knows? It's interesting that at the bottom it says, well, it matches right now, but in general, the number at the bottom, concurrent viewers, and the concurrent viewers on the side, usually does not match. And they're both literally from the YouTube Studio. Yeah, they're different right now. They're different. It's literally from the same like dashboard page. I do click on them to do like pop out, but sometimes they're wildly different. Okay. Did that breakpoint? Oh, it did. So the debugging is working. So now, so if I go up, okay, we get the issue. So now I should be able to breakpoint and go up. And now we can debug into this. All right, that's what I expect so far. Okay, so we have above layers. All right, maybe this is messed up. That looks okay. So at position 18. That's good. It's not overwritten. Okay, so what gives then? We got changed regions. Does it have a changed region? Does not have any. That makes sense. What about this though? This says one changed region, which is what I expect. What could I check next? looks right. Let's see. Right, x equals 0, comma, space. Y equals 0, comma, space. Z equals 0, comma, space. W equals 0. Okay, that's I equals 27. The output end is 28. So I guess the printed layer so the layer with the coordinate on it is the change region that correctly describes the entire thing. And then it gets merged down onto the border, but because the border hasn't changed, it doesn't have any change region. Okay, I might understand why this doesn't work. Let's try something quick. Okay, that just lazily tells the border that it's changed. The whole thing is changed every time. So it will consider the whole thing. Okay, that fixed the problem. So that was the issue. Cybernetic Logos says, hello Robert, how are you? I'm pretty good. I just fixed this bug. Ryan Sterling Young, long time no see. What's been happening? Not too much. Been doing some work on the block mining simulation game. Up to 9K lines. All vibe coded. Nice. Is the vibe coding any good so far? Like, are those good? Are they it's easy to generate 9,000 lines while vibe coding, but are they good lines? So you mentioned adding multiplayer to your game. Wondering how that works. I think you mentioned a database, presumably in a track state. Actually, there's already been a database from day one. It uses just like the entire world is like a matrix of blocks, and that's one of the kind of core approaches of my design, is just to keep it simple and flexible. So it supports SQLite database. That's the default. In fact, if you just run the jar file, it creates a file that's a SQLite database. So, and you can just like open another command line and like look around in the world by writing SQL queries. And it also supports, you can just specify like a Postgres connection string. So you could even specify it over a network for a single player. Now I have quite a bit of code currently that implements the full networking, the application networking stuff for the messaging and stuff. So it's basically like it's like effectively just like single player, but with a multiplayer, with an actual client server architecture. And some of the recent work I've been doing is to try and refactor some of that. Like previous to a few weeks ago, there was no concept of like a different player. There's no support for like storing multiple players in the database, but I recently added some stuff that will make that possible. But it'll be a long way before it's like production ready. Like actual public facing production ready. I still have to figure out like conflict resolution. Like right now, everything, you would just like, your thing would move around and then your person would get deleted by race conditions. Haven't touched coding in months. Busy with RL stuff. Yeah, the world is getting more chaotic. Coding is a fun luxury. I love vibe coding. So based. Get to write tests that run the game. Then send virtual commands to the game to drive it. Then it checks the logs. Have all the stack variables needed. Codecs and just loop in these tests until it fixes the problem. Yeah, I kind of look forward to actually playing around with some of the vibe coding stuff once I get the time for it. Well, you'd scoff a multiplayer idea. Appreciate you taking it on. Yeah, it's I'd kind of like to actually add more content, but I've thought about it in like having like actually adding multiplayer would be easier if there is it less existing content, because the more content I add, the more complicated it gets. And then if multiplayer is already in there, then any new content I add is obviously going to incrementally support it. And I think it's also multiplayer, massive multiplayer is like a super killer feature. Like that's if there's one feature that really makes it could actually give it some real appeal and give it a social aspect and make it marketable, I think that would be it. But like I said, don't hold your breath on it. It's going to take a while to get that to get it done and working and stuff. Enjoying it. Been vibe coding since 2021, before they had chat. It was basically just code autocomplete. First time I ran a local GPT-2 clone. Completely derailed my ML Python study group. Yeah, like I said, I haven't actually sat down and played around with it too much lately. I still followed the talks on who's that guy with the what's the name of that guy who is he's got the very pronounced male pattern baldness, who's the famous large language model guy. I think I remember seeing a couple comments saying that I kind of look like him, or at least my hair pattern is like the same as him. Is his name Alex Carpathary or something? Anyway, I saw an interview with that guy, Ilya. Okay, and he was talking about how like we've some of the benchmarks, like the tests and stuff for large language models, are amazing now. Carpathy. I'm just saying that name because it sounds familiar. Can't put a face to it. Is he another AI guy? I can't remember. Anyway, yeah, he was commenting that, like, answering the question of like why he was answering the question of why they do so well on the benchmarks, but in like real world economic activity is not necessarily that much greater, and like it's still really bad. He's still really making very fundamental mistakes where like a human can easily beat it. And he was just speculating that it might be just like the solution space is like there may still be some other thing necessary to get the breakthrough general AI, and what we're kind of building is like an extremely impressive version of like a curve fitted model, where it's like it's really, really good on things that are very, very similar to what you've showed it, but then to go beyond that in certain cases, like it's just no amount of telling it that it's wrong will fix it. Founded OpenAI, worked at Tesla. Okay, I have to memorize my famous tech people a bit more. Okay, we fixed a bug. I think to actually get to iron out some of the multiplayer stuff, I'm probably going to take the existing local code that I have and then like merge that in, because I don't basically what I'm doing is I want to start refactoring and moving some interfaces, but I don't want to break them in the existing other code, because once I break it, the breakage kind of it gets bigger and bigger the more I add to it. I think it'll get too hard to merge. Let me think. 22 minutes of working on something. Maybe I'll just space out and play the game. charge often? Yes. Yeah, my approach is like constantly validate your assumptions, test things often. Every time you make some tiny little change, you got to be super thorough. Otherwise, you make one wrong turn and then you start building upon that. It's just impossible to go back. Is this all the programming you do in a day? Yeah, with the making videos is a lot of work. It takes quite a bit of time. Now this has race conditions, so if I move around too fast, it has a problem where, because the client is actually sending commands to literally delete and move the player, you can have a race condition where the player object, because the player is actually a block, that's how I'm going to implement collision detection. The client can basically like delete the player block, and then it ends up in a state where there's no player. It's just an empty block, and then the game crashes because that state is not allowed. And the fix for that will be to eventually to take the movement, the actual code that moves the player block, that has to be on the server, and it has to be in a transaction. But once that's there, then that will mean, oh yeah, and the other thing is I'm gonna have to make some updates to, I'm probably gonna keep everything implemented as blocks. I had originally thought that like clients would like directly read and write the world. Well, mostly like write the world of blocks, but I think it'll have to. I'll have to send just like commands, which I'll probably just turn into another block type. So there'll be like a movement command block, and then I'll implement like a circular buffer for these commands. So every player object up at that like that high address. Oh yeah, I guess another thing I forgot to. I should work on adding. Oh, the frame is broken. It's not good. Oh, what happened there? Yeah, so stuff like movement, I'll have like a circular buffer of commands, and each player will have it's like an allocated buffer. And I will have a separate thread that runs on the server, and it's just going to do nothing but so it will subscribe to those regions, to the regions of space where all the clients write their commands to, and then when there's a new command that comes in, it will actually be the thing that takes care of moving the players around. So if you have like two different players moving around, they both write commands to their respective buffer, and then the server thread reads from both of those and processes the commands serially. And the other thing that's needed is a concept of a tick. So if two players try to move into the same position in the same tick, then one of them will lose, I guess whichever one is the second one to add to the buffer in that tick will end up, I'm going to use optimistic concurrency, optimistic logging, and whichever one fails the race condition, there will have to be a message sent back that the transaction or I guess it's not a, it'll have to just be another message that say actually I'll probably just I'll send back a message saying that the transaction to write the command block failed, and then the client will have to react to that. How do you learn to architect a multiplayer game? To be honest, technically your question is based on a false premise, which assumes that I know how to make a multiplayer game. I'm just describing how I plan to make it. It's quite possible that everything I'm doing is against best practices. I've Googled for some of this stuff a little bit, and there's some like game engine theory stuff out there. I guess it's probably I think my approach is I think it's probably a fairly solid approach for like a robust and stable processing application, like some ETL project or something. Like if you're just doing some processing of data, I think it's quite possible that if I actually build this, it may have really bad performance. And so very likely, I think a lot of games end up, they'll write it one way and then they immediately realize it's too slow, so then they re-architect it to make it faster. Did you know you could use your game to render a low resolution app in blocks? Yeah, that's the reason I like just blocks. It's so simple, and you can display it anywhere. You can reimagine it. You could even build like a 2D side-scrolling mini game in it if you want on a given layer. Doing something to port 2D apps from bitmapped pixels to 3D voxels, which I believe is the future of desktops. Yeah, I actually, I was thinking like the modern operating system, a truly modern day operating system would be Minecraft. Can you imagine how crazy it would be if like there's so many things in Minecraft. Like the game itself is just so poorly written for the resources they have. Like imagine, like it sounds kind of crazy, but imagine how cool it would be and like convenient if you went to work and you're like, hey, do you have those files for me? And like if you actually built like a little village or city that was your workplace, it was a virtual workplace, and in a lot of ways, you could say that's this is like a silly silly role playing thing, but actually there's like a numerical organizational value in physically arranging things, even if it's in a virtual world, because like when you go to work, it's very common for people. There's people who spend all day organizing spreadsheets. And when you're organizing things in a spreadsheet, the work you're doing is you're literally, you're just changing the Z index of maybe those records, moving it into a different Excel sheet and moving it around. Like, think about, is that really the best interface? Maybe the best way, like if you want to store, GDP reports, maybe a Minecraft chest with a pipe into like, or with a, what do you call it? With a hopper. You put an Excel sheet into a Minecraft chest, and then it feeds it into a hopper, and then that processes it through macros or something. Have you read the canonical game engine texts? I have not. Is the plan still to take over an Arctic island and fight Canada? No, I'm not going to fight them. I'll just be cool. But yeah, the plan is still world domination. Although the financing, that's really been problematic, because the financing has slowed down a lot. Hack Matrix, that's what I'm making. I had a Minecraft world loader in Hack Matrix. Yeah, it's a neat idea. It seems like it's such a good idea that I think someone will create this. Visual programming, 3D. Yeah, I think like there's, I think if you talked about like, programming in Minecraft, the easiest way to map that is just like, your avatar is like looking at a screen or something. But a really big part of not even just programming, but like the act of doing work on information, like arranging information, sorting things. A lot of that is just about moving stuff around in space. Even like the 3D world, humans are very used to the 3D world. Like think about it. The other thing is, think about how well you know how to navigate around in your file system tree. Like imagine a random folder. Imagine you're in a random folder and you see like the files laid on your desk of a random folder. You probably wouldn't recognize that, but if the files on your computer were a room in a house in Minecraft, and you can see the icons and stuff, our minds are actually much better suited to remember, where you put something. You put something under a chest in this specific room, and that's where your files are. It's literally Hack Matrix MMO, silly role-playing thing. Mother's an accountant. Literally all she does. She writes code to do it. Yep, in the future, everyone will work in Hack Matrix. Like visual programming in 3D. I'd rather program in N-D. What I mean by that is I want all All primitives stored in a database. Code primitives, not runtime primitives. So I can reference functions via DB calls instead of files. Do you see the 3D file manager video I made? I haven't checked your channel in a little while. I've got a bunch of other things to finish first, but I'll check it out soon. I changed directory in a terminal, and it launches me to a new space dedicated to that folder. Yeah, I think in my opinion, this is an unexplored but potentially very fruitful, but also like a big part of getting people to use something is like teaching people how it works, and people already know how to navigate around in a 3D space and like look for stuff or like open containers and things. Speaking of making general 3D computing interface, first thing I imagine is things fluidly moving around, making space for each other, making portals, but to take advantage of human spatial memory. I guess that would all be forgone. Yeah, it's like think about an obscure thing in your house, like a piece of paper or like some childhood. If you said like, hey, where's your old records on this thing or something, physically where that is likely to be in your house, but you probably don't know what folder it's on in your computer. Clover the Cleric, how are you doing? I'm doing pretty good. How are you? It's the perfect engaging interface for computing. Yeah, it'll be honestly, it's kind of surprising it hasn't taken off. Because imagine if that was like a standard thing. Like if everyone was just in Minecraft all the time. And the way you commuted to work was by walking down a path in Minecraft. Oh yeah, I had noticed bugs. My frame highlighting is broken. I didn't notice that. And it's also not drawing correctly. That's not cool. Alright, well, I guess I will have to look into that. Well, that's enough for tonight. I think I'll call it a night there. I'll look at that when I'm changing the frame focus, but it's not changing the highlighting, and there's some missing pieces. That's definitely a bug. I guess. Yeah, I'll look at it. I'll look at it tomorrow night. All right, have a good night, guys.